Hello and welcome to the Sky Dog podcast, Horse Love, where I'm going to be talking with a whole variety of people about their love of horses. Come join us.
Take me where your river flows. I want to drive on your open road like the wilderness where we are born singing whoa.
So we must start this beautiful podcast. Thank you to both of you for doing it. I'm so appreciative because I know
Thanks
how
for inviting
busy
us.
you are because you live the same life as I do. So we know how busy you are. But I was going to ask you if you can both introduce yourselves and tell us like a little bit about the difference in the work you do with horses. Cyndi tells a little bit about Three Sisters and Amber tells a little bit about Verity Ranch, and we'll start there.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm Cyndi Davis, the founder and current president of Three Sisters Equine Refuge. And gosh, what separates us from the pack? The work we do. So I guess I'll take a step back and let everybody know that, we cut our teeth in the slaughter pipeline. So pulling horses out of the slaughter pipeline, and then quickly came to terms with the fact that we were making the peddlers of horse flesh wealthy, and we were going broke trying to take care of these sick horses. And so since then, we now go direct to and try and get the horses before they have even one partial hoof in the slaughter pipeline. A lot of our focus over the last few years has been with our reservation Mustangs up here at Warm Springs Reservation, and specifically the orphans. The babies get pulled off their moms, and the moms are sent to slaughter, which leaves the babies orphaned and oftentimes super sick. And we have a reputation of being able to bring them back from the brink of death. And it's something that we value doing and love doing, but it's also very expensive to do. What am I forgetting to say? That's kind of where we're at today. And it's good work, it's soulful work. And that doesn't take all of our focus, of course, because there's domestics and Mustangs and all of the above that need help, and there's just not enough of us doing it. So
Thank you.
I'll turn over to you, Amber.
Yes. I'm Amber Holm, and I'm the vice president of Three Sisters, currently on the board. My facility is called Verity Ranch, but basically I am a foster mom to many horses, just like many of the people that help us out are foster moms. I just happen to foster a lot at the ranch. And my facility got redesigned a few years ago, and it's still a work in progress to be able to safely house wild Mustangs in their transition from being wild to domestication. And I work to slowly and kindly domesticate Mustangs so that they can be ready for homes and be more adoptable, because a lot of people know how to work with horses, but working with Mustangs is totally different. So as a rescue, we really pride ourselves in setting horses up with a foundation to make them successful in homes for a long time.
That is fantastic. And I want to get into more of that later. But I did want to say to Cyndi, like, for all of our followers, like, I really have to explain to you what a blessing it was for us as Sky Dog Sanctuary when we very first started and we bought the ranch, and quickly realized Oregon seemed slightly hostile to us in general on social media. There were a lot of Facebook groups that were kind of coming after us, and we didn't understand it, but we felt very unwelcome in our own, little slice of Oregon. And I remember you writing to me, and you came out, I think, with two other people, and I can't even you will probably explain better who the other two people were because I don't remember, but I know that since then I have kept in touch with you. And we then did a first rescue together for a horse called Otis that we pulled from Sunnyside, that is a kill pen in Washington, of all the ironic names for a kill pen. It's
Right.
Sunnyside in Washington, and I wanted to rescue a horse, a Mustang called Otis, who's still with us, and you were looking at a different horse, and we decided to share the whole, and that was the first of many different collaborations that we've had, or working together to get a horse or mule safe. And so it's been an amazing process for me, but really I wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you for extending the hand of friendship locally from another rescue. And we would meet in town for lunch, and you helped me feel a little more comfortable in, like, I had friends at least nearby, and that I could see the incredible work that you do at Three Sisters, and you do, Amber, and it's been a really treasured friendship for me, because it was nowadays whenever people contact me, it's because they want more followers, or they want to do something for a reason, and they usually have their own agenda, which is not necessarily a terrible thing, but it just is the way it is. But I wanted to say you were there before we had any social media followers, just saying hello and hoping for the best for us and wishing us well. And we're very much like, look, if you need anything, if there's any questions you need answered, if you need our help, we're here. And that has been an extraordinary gift. And I have to tell you how much it meant at the time.
Aw, stop it. You're going to make me cry.
Rescue's hard business. I'm newer to it, and it can be pretty vicious. Everybody seems to have a good heart, but can be a little vicious towards each other. The ladies don't always play well, but what we've come to agree is that horses really get saved when we work together. So trying to have those collaborations, despite ego that might get in the way, really does save lives.
Yeah, we learned that early on. We were only one small little piece of the pie, and that we could save more, and our reach would be longer if we created relationships. And, as you know, not everybody wants to play fair. And that's fine, because, we now have, people over here that we work with and people that we don't. And we were just very excited when we heard that, a Mustang sanctuary was coming into our backyard, and wanted to, welcome you, because that's what you should do, right? We're all in this together. So, it was also something super special for me, because I see a kindred spirit in you, Claire, a sister, from another mister, if you will, in that we both have the same goals in saving horses, and the rest of the bullshit, gets tossed aside. So who knew that we'd be sitting here so many years later, and still doing it. And, we just are celebrating our 10th year in rescue, and about 500 horses in. Wow. Which, when I think back about when we started, we were just going to pull one horse, get that horse, healthy and well and adopted, and then we'd go back and get another one. And then it turned to 15 at a time, and then, on and on and on. So we're blessed to do what we do here in Central Oregon, under the Three Sisters Mountains, which, is our namesake. Just for people that don't know, where we came up with Three Sisters and why we're called Three Sisters. There's a mountain range here in Central Oregon called the Sisters, and they actually have names and a beautiful story, a Native American story around how they became faith, hope, and charity. So you'll see that, excuse me, on some of our marketing materials. And it's been a joy working for the horses and with you.
How long ago was that? When did you guys meet?
6 years ago, was it?
No, more than that, because it was the first winter we were there, because I remember going out to the homesteads, or the first, beginning of the year, and that's 2016. So,
oh, wow.
It's 8 years. I don't know. I can't do
math.
But I remember it well. And, it's funny when you're talking about that, rescue is a difficult arena to navigate. And I know that over the years, I have told our followers to go and follow a certain rescue because I thought they were good. And then sometimes you find out things later on where you realize they're not so good. And it's very hard to walk that back, but oftentimes, like, I'll make a list and tell people who to go follow, or I try and ask them to look at who I'm following. And if I'm not following them and I know about them, there's a really good reason why I'm not following them. And it's not, rumor or speculation. It's things that sadly I know, but I'm never going to come out hard against another rescue, because that's not right from the beginning. I've always thought, I want to be the change that I want to see in this world. And I'm not the rescue police. I am not the person that's out there going, this is good, this is bad, which people ask me to do. But I can say that over all those years, because I've had to change my list and take people off the list and unfollow them. But I have to say, Three Sisters has remained on that list from beginning to end for very, very, very good reasons, because the way that you rescue and truly do, other people use this phrase, setting a horse up for success. I think you are one of the few rescues that I know intimately and really well that absolutely do set these horses up for success. And you do take in cases that are hugely expensive with massive vet bills, as do we. And I know Cyndi and I have bumped into each other at Bend Equine more times than I can remember, because either she's there with a horse or I'm there with a horse, or we both have horses there. I think we're probably putting all of their children through college. So we're doing a good job. So the vets, I mean, but it's really important to me, that if I endorse a rescue or I tell people to follow them or I work with them, which I've continued to do with you guys over the years, and now with Amber, and I really did want to go into, obviously we spent kind of a couple of years very focused on the slaughter pipeline because we were trying to rescue as many horses out of there to gather evidence. And we're now in a lawsuit against the BLM for their AIP program, which is landing so many 2- and 3-year-old Mustangs in the slaughter pipeline. And I'm absolutely with you. I don't want to give money to the very people that are the problem, but sometimes I kind of look at it from a point of view like those horses don't know. They are the innocent victims, and we do it as few times. We try and pull horses that have special needs or particularly wild, but we did a rescue with Cyndi and Amber. Actually, I was on the phone to Cyndi talking about something else, and Amber's voice piped up in the background like, "I'll take some." And I was like, I will get you some. And so that led us to the Skydog 4, which you still have with you, Amber. And it was fantastic because I went to dinner with Amber and Cyndi, and Amber was saying, look, we need to really allow for a year of training, because it can take that long. And that's why it's always so extraordinary to me when I see these people mass bailing Mustangs. I ask, like, what is the plan for them? Okay, you're sending them to quarantine for a month, but then they're going to have to be trained and handleable. Otherwise, they're going to be standing in a field in 2 years with feet that are, like slippers and Aladdin shoes turning up and all of that brings. And, they're already in a situation, they've gone a year without vet care. So there is so much that needs to go into it. So although I would never, ever, ever say, want a horse to go to slaughter, there are worse things than death. And sadly, I see them a lot. But I want to get back to the Skydog 4, and maybe Amber, like, first of all, because we got a pair of geldings and a pair of mares, actually from 2 different places, and we bought them together, and they were with us for a few days, which is always dangerous because I can fall in love with them. So I didn't even go and look at them very much, but they're beautiful horses. And I remember Queen and I remember Slater, or the one that I was calling, like, they look like surfer dudes, the one with the bleach blonde.
Yeah.
So you know them a lot better than me, but I'd love to hear you talk about them and how their progress is going in your training methods.
For sure. I do know them pretty well. They spend a good amount of time with me, and they're front and center at our ranch where we have them now, because they, I find that sometimes wild horses that have had no human interaction are easier to gentle than these guys who were part of the AIP program. So while we might not know what their human interaction was while they were held over before, they collected their $1,000 and dumped, we do know they had seen humans before. And a couple of them didn't find value in humans at all. They weren't even curious, which is a little bit different than a lot of the wild Mustangs that come fresh off the range. They have curiosity. These guys had kind of already decided that humans weren't going to be of value to them. So I gave them a good long time to settle in, where we just mucked, we share space with food. I would put them in pins and maybe just even sit with them. I encourage anybody here that's learning how to do that with me. Like I would be like, sit on the outside of the pin and just read to them. And so that's really all we did last winter, is let them settle, so that they didn't blow through the panels or have a fear response or something like that. So we have Queen and we have Lily, and they are the mayors, and they're from the Paisley HMA in Oregon. And then Slate was your Slater, and Hamilton was your Laird Hamilton, your Surfer Boys. Those are the geldings from Nevada. They're a little bit on the smaller side. The other two are very sizable girls. Queen didn't have the thing, and when it's interesting, because when she was at your place, we were all looking at her like, oh my gosh, she was blowing through the construction fencing. We we're like, oh, she's gonna lead the way, and she's powerful. She has a huge presence to her. She's a love bug now. Like,
That's
she's,
amazing.
first of all, she's stunning. So she was my first to halter. She leads. We're just working on, she picks up her front feet. We're working on picking up her hind feet. But she's the one at the gate wanting scratches. She's not blowing through anything at all. Where Lily, her friend behind her just now, it took this long, is showing interest in humans. For a while, she would send me out of the pen, ears pinned back, like no interest at all. She's a really dynamic girl, but I feel like she's in the past 2 months really turned a corner, and it is like, okay, I'm here for this. And because life is busy and because we don't believe in it, like we wait till the horses tell us they're ready, and luckily we can kind of do that here, and keep them safe. And then the geldings, the Hamilton spent his first several months charging me out of the pen. So he looks very sweet and subdued with his Palomino locks. But the first several months were him saying, no, you're going to go ahead and get out of here. And he would throw all of his energy and charge me out of the pen. But that's not the case anymore. He's come along. And then the longest haul, I think, of them all, which is surprising, is Sweet Slate. He's very kind of perky and curious. He leads. He's a leader despite his little size, but he kind of has shown that he's like, I don't know if this is for me. And so we're kind of playing with a little bit and seeing what he really wants to do. So they're all moving along at their own pace. They all definitely enjoy humans a lot more than they did when they came out of all of that situation. Who knows what they went through in that. But and then we've recently had a lot of interest in adoption of the mayors, for sure. We've gotten a lot of notes recently for adoptability. We won't adopt a Mustang out until they can halter, lead, receive farrier care, vet care, and go on a trailer safely without freeloading. Go ahead and lead on the trailer. So those are our criteria to adopt to a qualified home that has Mustang experience.
And that is, I mean, I am so glad that you broke that all down and talked about the length of time. And it's funny, we had this event recently for the pajamas, and a lot of people came in. There was a lady that had adopted a couple of Mustangs. And I also received an email from someone who said the same thing, and they did exactly that. They literally sat inside a kind of pipe corral with their two wild Mustangs and read a book, like every evening, just sat with them. And I don't think, I think that for me, that's the right way to go about it. And I think that time is really one of the biggest tools that you can use with these horses, especially that have been through trauma. And I agree 100%. I would rather go to the corrals and take a wild horse that has never had any human interaction than the ones that have been through the slaughter pipeline, and even before that have had very negative reactions to people, like interactions with them. So it's extraordinary, the forgiving nature of a horse, that they can actually get through that trauma and then kind of get to that place of going, okay, I'll give it another try. But, it's so important for me to sort of explain this over and over again, because, we see people at auctions mass bailing horses and then flinging them, wherever, anybody asks, to other traders, to bad homes, to people that want to kind of get them through the training process as quickly as possible, often in a really brutal way. And, you know, it's just to kind of try and explain that is not the way that real rescue works, you know, like spending that quality time with a wild horse, and we do it at Skydog, you learn so much about that horse's personality, what they're willing to accept, what even their spatial boundaries are, like each time you interact with them. And I think it's such a dance and it's such a conversation. And that has to take time, especially when they're also recovering from everything they've just been through. So it's just like so beautiful to me to kind of have you guys on and explain that, you know, and I don't know, it just is. I wish that that was the story for more Mustangs. You know, I wish that they could get to experience that and get there in their time, and in a willing kind of cooperative partnership, which is so obvious is what Amber has. You know, I see your videos and I see the way that you interact with them, and it's just everything, like, to me, you know, to know that there are people out there doing it right, and that is what rescue should look like, and it is what training should look like, you know. And I very much wanted to work with you guys because I wanted to get away from the narrative that we had inadvertently created, where Sanctuary was the be all and end all perfect end for every horse. And I kind of think, you know, that happened sort of without me saying it. It just became, you know, well, you know, and I would love to be able to put more horses up on our site and say, you know, like, would someone like to take these horses, or, you know, we'll help you with costs. But they're always like, why can't they come to Skydog, you know? And we've just recently taken some beautiful colts, and they're Southsteins and Paisley, and they're all paints, and they were in a terrible situation with a bad trainer who was really abusive to them. And so I took them for that reason, but always with the intention of hoping to find a home for them. And they're still only kind of 2.5. So I didn't want to put them straight into training, but they're such desirable horses. And I've been trying to explain to our followers, like, look, this is a win-win. You know, it's a win for us because that leaves space open for a horse that has been through 12 trainers and needs Sanctuary. But while they're still 2 and 3 and this friendly and open to kind of moving on and being in a family, like, I don't want people to think that's a negative. And I think, especially, like, I've seen Cyndi's adoption contract, and actually took our adoption contract, even though we don't adopt out very, very rarely, but that's exactly how I would want to do it. And I know that some people react to that, Cyndi, and sort of go, well, this is, you know, crazy. We can't sell the horse, you know, you have to keep in touch with us for life or whatever, you know. And it feels very restrictive, but I mean, that's the only way I would let a horse go too. And I think it's fantastic that you go to those lengths, you know, and it's why I do want to work with you, and I do want to promote you, and, like, please, everyone go and follow Three Sisters and Veracay Ranch to kind of see the way that these things are done properly, because I think it is such an educational moment, because Sanctuary isn't the only option for a lot of these horses. And although we like to keep families together, you know, and that's what we've chosen to do, and I think that is what our followers like, we could save so many more if we could work with people that we knew were going to gentle these horses in a wonderful way, and then that they would carry the protections that you offer when you send them to a home. And I know that you do wonderful home checks and, you know, meet the people that are taking them. And so, you know, thank you guys for being such leaders in that, and such shining examples of the way to do it right. It really makes me tearful because I see so much of the other side of it. So honestly, that comes from the heart. And I wanted to talk to you, I touched on Otis for a second, that horse that we took, where you took
Ginger, the blue-eyed Ginger.
Yes, with the blue eyes. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for blue eyes.
Yeah, me too. And a long forelock, apparently. I'm a sucker for a long mane. But we did another rescue together. I can't really remember how it happened, but I know that I wanted you to tell the story of Firecracker and how you found him and brought him, Firecracker the mule. He was that old mule that you found in it really neglected, and what you did for him. And then we took him, and he actually ended up coming down to Malibu. And that was another really nice rescue we did together.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was so happy for him because he was damn near starved to death.
Yeah.
And it was a law enforcement action that we work with law enforcement around us, and are blessed that we have that relationship and opportunity. But yeah, we brought the old guy in. He was a registered mule, super sweet, just ancient, and had basically been turned out and not fed for a year. And we got him healthy and back on track. And you had taken in a mule, and I think you wanted him as a partner because we all know that equines need, same. They want to be in a relationship or a herd with other beings just like them. And we all adored Firecracker, and it was a blessing that you took him, and that what a retirement for him that had been worked so hard his whole life to end up in Malibu, retired and getting all the best loves and all the best things. It made his rescue just kind of full circle, and
Well,
the best of the best.
amazingly, Firecracker's legacy lives on because we then had
Yeah.
a baby mule from a Mustang mare that we rescued from the slaughter pipeline. She had a mule, as did many, many, many other mares out of the slaughter pipeline for a kind of year or two. There were just endless mules. They'd all been bred to a donkey. Somewhere there is a donkey sitting there smoking a cigar, like literally going, I have the best life ever. But we called him Firefly in honor of Firecracker.
Because
And
wasn't he born around the same time that you lost Firecracker?
Yes, just after.
Yeah.
And we also had a volunteer here called Bobby. We call her Angel Bobby, and she literally has been coming to volunteer with us since the beginning. And she comes with her sound bowls, and she does, and she has so much love. But Firecracker was her absolute. She must have 1,000 pictures of her and Firecracker on her phone, and she loved him. And when we had to let him go, I said to her, Bobby, I promise you, we will rescue another old mule in his honor at some point. And occasionally, about every 3 months, she would send me something from a kill pen and say, I just thought I would send this. And I would be like, not now, not right now, because it's always a lot to take on. But
it's a lot.
She sent me a video of a mule, a really old mule that looked a lot like Firecracker, being ridden, made to run on these massive arthritic knees. And we had already rescued a Mustang that was coming back from Oklahoma. So I was like, well, we can put him on the trailer. And his name is Graham Cracker, after Firecracker. So we've got Firefly and Graham Cracker. So he was like the rescue that has also carried on impacting us and led to Graham Cracker being rescued. And he is the most eccentric, quite bizarre fellow.
Oh,
sorry, I've got such a frog in my throat lately. But he's out here in Malibu, and Bobby comes to visit him like 2 or 3 times a week, and we love him. So thank you for that. There's another gift.
The gift that keeps on giving,
right?
Cindy is the gift that keeps on giving. And we've got about 8 minutes left, and I was going to talk about, really for both of you, actually, this is a question I've asked over the last podcast. Rescue has a lot of up and downs, and I was going to ask you if you had sort of distinct memories of your highest highs and victories or lowest low, what those would be, because we all have them. I was texting with you yesterday or the day before, Cyndi, and you were, yet again at the vet, possibly losing another friend, really, the way I look at it. And those have been my hardest days, definitely. But I didn't know if there was something that you could think of, even for you, Amber, a breakthrough in training, or when they teach you something that you didn't know, I love hearing those stories.
I've never worked with a Mustang that hasn't taught me something. And they're all here kind of in a divine way. And for a lesson that they share. So sometimes it's patience, sometimes it's a new trick to learn, sometimes it's just inner peace or grounding or something like that. So I have been pretty moved by working with Queen. While the other three are a little more like challenging for Mustang work, but she like there's something about her that's just moved me. And but there's never I can say like I'm brought to my knees. I have never put a first halter on a Mustang. And I've done maybe 22 in the past 2 years where I haven't been brought to my knees in tears. From taking that freedom away, I recognize that the minute I take their nose with a halter, I'm taking their freedom away, but hopefully for a good life that we try and work on. So every one of them brings me as a high and a low in that moment. I'm taking freedom, but I'm also privileged to be able to offer them a good foundation. So mine are kind of every gentleman is a high and a low for sure.
Yeah, I think our combined low would have been Joy.
Yeah.
She was a beautiful young reservation filly that had gotten kicked and needed intense therapy and a year of intense therapy. And we gifted her that because that's what we do. We don't look at these horses like we own them. We're guardians, and we're their guardians for life. And guardianship means that we're in it, we're in it for all the things. And if that's an intense veterinary,
that was about a $15,000 patella surgery.
Yeah.
So it was a choice.
And we got her through it. And then we lost her to colic, to a twisted gut. And that was, I think that was tough because we'd worked so hard and she was such a delight, only to turn around and literally lose her within a month of her getting to go out and be out in pasture and not confined. And so, we do that a lot. And because of what we do, we lose a fair amount, not as many as you would think, because we have a great team and everybody gets involved and does it. But that one, I think, pinched our hearts a lot. My high is just, seeing a horse period land into an amazing place, with you, with an adopter, with somebody that thinks and feels like we do, our and as you mentioned with our adoption contract, we're pretty strict, which is why our horses stay with us a very long time. We want them to find their guardian. We want them to go and have a better place than where they're coming from in rescue, which is pretty darn good. But our horses stay with us until we find that perfect person. And mostly, I think we've only had in the 10 years had less than a handful come back to us.
You brought up our contract, Claire. Somebody had written us recently. They sent me a text that said, I reviewed your contract and you're asking too much of your adopters, so I won't be adopting from you. And I said, okay. Like we do. We put them through a lot because it's a big deal to us that our horses are placed successfully. So I think that when they do get placed successfully, it's quite a high because we worked real hard for it.
Yeah, it's there's lots of tears of joy. And I always have to remind everybody, we're not crying because they're leaving. We're crying because this is an amazing opportunity and amazing thing. And
that's beautiful. And we've got 3 minutes left before I run out of time on my Zoom call. I wanted to mention Maple. Again, another thing.
Oh, yeah, that's the other one. Yes.
So this is crazy because a really quick story of Maple was that she was at the, this is a terrible Zoom because I can't speak, but at the Teens in Oregon Mustang event, she came up like acting almost like neurological, and someone from the BLM messaged me, but it was at a time where I was in a war with like Rob Sharp and the BLM over the twins. And they offered to send her to me, but like Rob Sharp was like, I can bring her out. And I was quite worried he was coming out to kill me. So I was like, Cyndi, is there any way you can take this horse? And because she's really pretty and I'll help you with vet bills or whatever. But like later on, I'll take her if you need to. And you kept her, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't know how
It was
long
a few,
it was with
yeah.
fosters and different things. You did so much work with her, so much medical treatment. I remember she was on wobble
She had
boards and, like,
EPM. She
incredible.
got EPM
Yep.
at training.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of that. And then in the end, when you were like, is there any chance you could take Maple? It was such a joy because the way that I looked at it, we had tried every single thing that we could to find her a good home, find her a good situation. And she ended up coming to us, and she is such a joy. Like, she's out with the herd and she's always the first one up. She's such a boss mare and I love her. So it was such a happy ending to me that worked out that way. And I wanted to end on a high note, and I'm just so grateful for you two both taking the time, because I know how busy you are and I know how much stuff you have to do in one day. And Cyndi, you're a freaking rock star, as are you, Amber. And I want everyone to go follow Three Sisters. If this is still before Giving Tuesday, please donate to Three Sisters. They are
Thank you.
an incredible organization, you know, and I'm just grateful to know there are people out there in the world, you know, to give extra support to horses that need it so much. So thank you, my friends.
Oh,
We're super
our
grateful for you.
pleasure. Thank you, Claire.
I hope I see you. I'll be up in Oregon soon. I'll give you a call.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for
All right.
watching.
Bye.